Hello everyone, today we are going to draw John Nash's life. John Forbes Nash was born in 1928 in Bluefield, West Virginia. His father, John Sr., was an electrical engineer, and his mother, Margaret Virginia, had been a school teacher for Latin before she was married. He had one younger sibling, his sister Martha, who said that Nash was always different. My parents knew he was different, and they knew he was bright. He always wanted to do things his way. Since really young, he appeared as a brilliant mind to all his teachers and learned a lot by reading books as a child. He was also showed a great interest in experimentation. By the time he was 12, he turned his room into a laboratory, playing with radio and did chemistry experiments. In 1945, he won a scholarship which enabled him to apply to the Carnegie Institute of Technology to pursue engineering studies. However, he was so bored in his engineering program that he switched later to chemistry before shifting as a mathematical student. By the spring of 1948, Nash has been accepted to Princeton, Chicago, Harvard, and Michigan University, the top 4 graduate math programs in the US. He chose Princeton after receiving a letter from the chairman, who likes to coach promising men when they are young and open-minded. In Princeton, he did massive advancement on the game theory in its purely mathematical sense. He began to develop the theory of the Nash equilibrium, for which he received the Nobel Prize in Economic Sciences in 1994.
So what is the Nash equilibrium? So firstly, let's define game theory. It is the study of mathematical models of strategic interaction among rational decision makers. It has application in fields of social science, as well as in logic, in system science and computer science. Hence, the Nash equilibrium is a proposed solution of non-cooperative game involving 2 or more players, in which each player is assumed to know the equilibrium strategy of the other players, and no players has anything to gain by changing only their own strategy. To illustrate that, let's take a look at the prisoner's dilemma. 2 felons, Bill and Bob, get arrested separately but on the same day for selling drugs. They are brought to the police station separately, and they tell them that it's an open and shut case and that they're going to get convicted for drug dealing and get 2 years of prison. The attorney comes and chats with each of these men individually, enforcing the idea that it's an open and shut case for drug dealing. But the attorney realizes that these 2 gentlemen committed, while this time together, another serious offense, let's say armed robbery. So without proof, she will try to get a deal with each of these guys so that they have an incentive to snitch on the other. Let's take a look at these incentives. So she says to each of them, you are getting a prison no matter what, but if you confess on the armed robbery and tell us who you did it with, you will only get 1 year instead of 2, and the other will get 10. So based on the assumption that Bill and Bob are 2 hardened criminals and don't have any loyalty, they'll snitch on each other, picking the non-ideal scenario for both of them, and both will get 10 years. And that is the Nash equilibrium. This situation can be illustrated through many other examples, and the application of this theorem goes much further than individual decisions.
Sadly, in 1958, he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, for which he was placed to a psychiatric service. He realized that he couldn't get out of hospital unless he behaved normally and decided to ignore his delusions and think rationally.
Nash's research into differential equations at MIT led to his seminal paper, Real Algebraic Manifolds, which was published in Annals of Mathematics in November 1952. Nash was working on proving Hilbert's 19th problem, a theorem involving elliptic partial differential equations, when in 1956 he suffered a severe disappointment and learned that an Italian mathematician, Ennio De Giorgi, had published a proof just months before Nash achieved his. Each took different routes to get to their solutions, but it has been speculated that if only one had solved the problem, he would have been given the Fields Medal for the proof. His other influential work in mathematics included the Nash-Moser inverse function theorem and the Nash embedding theorems. His honors included the John von Neumann Theory Prize and the American Mathematical Society's Leroy Steele Prize for a seminal contribution to research. In 2011, the National Security Agency declassified letters written by Nash in the 1950s in which he had proposed a new encryption-decryption machine. The letters show that Nash had anticipated many concepts of modern cryptography, which are based on computational hardness. In 2015, Nash won the Abel Prize for his contributions to the study of partial differential equations, which the Norwegian Academy of Science and Letters described as among the most original results in geometric analysis of the 20th century. On May 23, 2015, Nash and his wife died in a car accident on their way home from Norway, where Nash had received the Abel Prize.